Hey.
Hey,
So, how did you get here? Right here, right now.
right here, right now,
Yeah.
in my car.
You get okay. So you get here in your car.
Yeah, I drove here in my car.
But what about before that?
This is a broad question.
It is a very broad question.
How
I
did
love
I get
asking broad
here?
questions.
Okay, cool. Let's make it interesting. I flew from Park City, Utah,
Yeah.
when I was a young sapling of 16 or
Yeah.
17, and wanted to get away from the snow. So I came to the beach,
Got it.
and eventually, through a roller coaster, found my way to San Diego, and now to you.
And now to me.
Now to you.
And so one thing that you do that I really think is badass is you help people feel sexy.
Yeah. I help.
So where did that come from? Like what was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna make people feel sexy.
I'm gonna make it feel sexy. It was my own type journey because I was in Los Angeles. I had gone up there through a series of events and found myself in a very masculine side, and I felt
Okay.
really out of alignment and kind of out of integrity with some things I was doing, and I just didn't feel good. And I had stopped dance. I grew up dancing, and I
Okay.
had stopped dancing. I wasn't dancing up there, and I eventually ended a relationship and decided to move back down to Encinitas. And from there, I started getting into dancing and movement again. And I just felt how connected I felt in my body. And I was so in my head in LA. And then once I started getting back into the movement and feeling my body, then I was like, oh, all right, this feels good. I love it. And it's not technique driven. It's not ballet or jazz or hip hop. It's really feeling what the music is and how the music is moving your body. And through my own discovery and like my own, then opening up to my sensuality and sexuality and reconnecting with that, it kind of spurred on this, oh, maybe more women might need this. And then
Yeah.
started talking to other women and saying, how do you feel when this? Do you feel out of alignment? Do you feel more masculine? Do you feel more feminine? And then taking that study on and researching a little bit more of the masculine and feminine within ourselves, like the yin and yang that we have. And then I was, testing out workshops and testing out classes and in Arizona and Utah and San Diego and LA. And more women were saying that they enjoyed it or that they were
Yeah.
able to connect with themselves. I had one woman break down crying at the end of it. And she's like, I've been married for 5 years. And of course, my husband is attracted to me. He's with me. And I've never felt sexy until taking this and actually moving my body. And because it's like, you're feeling yourself, right? It's not,
Feeling myself.
you're feeling yourself. But it's like
Yeah.
the movement of feeling like your muscles flex or moving through your body and rolling and just being in the flow of what that feminine is. So
You feel like that's a feminine expression in movement like that? It's like creative, free-flowing movement. It's like
Yeah.
you're tapping into your feminine.
yeah, I feel so. Because if you think about it, the masculine is very linear. I forget who exactly put this example out there, but masculine is more of a container and streamline, straight lines. And so if you think of it in your body, your legs are the foundation. It's your container. It's holding you sturdy and it's very linear. Your arms are very linear and they're protecting you, right?
Yeah,
And then
like
from your
this.
head to your pelvis is just very free flowy, and that's more the feminine side, right?
Okay.
So that's in my head and in my examples that I use in class and workshops is that's how you can see the balance within your own body and within your own self in a physical side.
Okay, I like that. I
Yeah.
dig that a lot. That sounds cool. I mean, David Data talks about that a little bit. He's like, the masculine is the ship, and the feminine is the sea. It's like the ship like does a thing. It's like here, point A to point B, and that's it. That's its mission. And the feminine can be peaceful and beautiful, or like crazy and disruptive, or wild and like whirly, and it can also just devour a ship at any moment.
Exactly. It's
So-
amazing.
So where do you start with people? I mean, someone comes to you, or comes to a workshop, and it's and I'm imagining, if I can make an assumption that they're kind of bound up and tense and tight and disconnected. I think is probably the best word. Like what is step one? What's step one to unlocking that and tapping in?
Yes, on to the disconnected. Some people are, so either if they're an entrepreneur or if they're in business or a mom and career woman,
Yeah.
you're so into what you're doing that you're very disconnected from yourself. And the first part of it is getting to know yourself through your body movement. And so I'll put on music and we'll just kind of roll through the different body parts, like the head, the torso, and just, what is it called? Isolations.
Okay.
So you'll do isolation so you feel each side of your body, and then we'll get into the more flowing movement. And then it's a workout too. So we're doing kind of squats, but also moving through it. So you're mixing the masculine and the feminine movement together.
Okay.
And not just doing one side or the other side. You know, like if you go to the gym, it's very masculine, right? You're doing bicep curls and it's very linear, and then you are dancing and it's more movement, especially in this class. So we do the movement and the dance to open up your body and open up that creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into more of the mindset and reframing of who we are to ourselves, and do mirror work. And then after that, we go into taboos and talk more about sensuality and sexuality. And a lot of times, especially I think it came out in the 70s, where women were wearing the shoulder pads. They had to go into the boardroom and like walk like a man, talk like a man. And that's trickled down till now. And now we're getting more connected to that feminine side, to be a woman and see it as okay. It's not like you walk into a boardroom and you have your boobs and your boobs and your booty hanging out. Like, that's not what I'm meaning. It's you can still be connected to your sensual and sexual side and have that balance of being a professional person or being a mom and this and that. So it's tapping into that and your desires, and being comfortable with exploring, or being uncomfortable with knowing your body, or being comfortable with having a conversation with your partner saying like, hey, I want to try this, or this excites me, and not feeling so shameful around it. Because a lot of society is like, oh, don't show your body, don't show this, don't show that, don't talk about sex, don't talk about your desires. That's just weird. That should be behind closed doors. And a lot of women have cut off that sensual, sexual side because they feel they have to be more masculine in business, or masculine in their finances or career and lifestyle. And that's where a lot of the disconnect comes from. So once in my theory, you get your body moving and you start understanding your body, then we go into the mindset of getting to yourself and seeing yourself for who you are.
Yeah.
And then into the taboos of like exploring what might be exciting to you, or writing different stories, or seeing yourself in a different light.
Yeah. So I love that. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
And it sounds a lot like, when you describe this, it sounds a lot like meditation in a way, like compartmentalizing the body and moving different parts and bringing awareness to different parts of the body. When you said mirror work, what does that mean?
Mirror work. So I have the women sit in front of the mirror.
Okay.
And kind of disassociate who they're seeing in front of them as another person. So you're seeing that as somebody else, and asking that person like, what do you need? What can I support you with?
Oh, wow.
And then bringing that back into themselves, as if I'm having a hard time, you're going to ask me, okay, how can I help you? What do you need? And you're going to dedicate yourself to what I need and helping me, right? But we don't do that to ourselves a lot of the time. We put ourselves second or third or last, or way, way, way at the end, and everybody else comes first. So it's seeing that person right in front of you and what they need, and feeling like you want to support them, and then reintegrating that person that's in front of you back into yourself, and saying, okay, cool, I could be here for myself. I could make this commitment to myself, and it's important.
Isn't it wild? And I do a lot of this work as well with the lifestyle design program that I do, how you can answer your own questions like that. Like, if you give yourself the space, and we usually do it through journaling, but when you can ask yourself, like, how am I getting in my own way? Or what do I need? Or what do I really want? Like, how can I live the most full life? Like when you ask yourself those questions and you can answer them as yourself, it's incredibly empowering, because it takes away the need to reach out and reach out outside of yourself for fulfillment and validation.
It is. And it's a lot of, you'll go to your friends for advice, or you'll say, God, this is going on. Like, I don't exactly know what to do, or how do I read? Oh my gosh, we can go into reading between the lines too. Like, that's a no-no. That should be a no-no. Creating silly stories. But a lot of time you're right. We do have the answer. And if you kind of step outside of being so in the tornado and in the eye of the tornado of what's going on, and you step outside of that and be your own friend and say, okay, if somebody came to me with this, how would I respond? What would my response be to that person of, you maybe look at it this way, or have you actually asked this question? Like, clarifying questions are fucking amazing. Can you cuss on this? Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay.
Cuss all the fuck you want. It's cool. You can say anything. All of them. All this is explicit as can be. This has actually been one of the cleanest podcasts so far. I was feeling pressured to say fuck more because you weren't saying it.
Fuck. we can fucking fuck more. I mean,
whoa, hey. All right.
Okay, I did. We can say fuck more.
Dude, I'm glad I wish it was a video podcast because you're so red right now.
Am I? I could. Oh my God. Yeah.
Anyways.
Where were we?
I don't know. You lost me.
I think it was. Oh, your own advice.
Yeah. Okay. Taking your own advice, and you were going on about reading between the lines.
Oh yeah, reading between the lines.
And how dangerous that can be.
It could be so dangerous, and we create those stories in our head instead of whoever we're talking to, and say, hey, actually, you said this. What does that mean to you? I think we were having that conversation earlier. How words can mean different things to different people. We can talk about integrity. Integrity means on time to some people, and to some people it means keeping your word.
Yeah.
Or compassion can mean so many different things to so many different people. And so when you're in a conversation, a debate, a fight, discussion, you have your own perspective and you have your own way of hearing what the other person is saying. And sometimes that disrupts what is actually going on and what's actually being said. So if you dive in a little bit more with that person and say, okay, really explain to me what you're meaning. Or if they said a specific sentence and it's kind of rubbing you the wrong way or it's triggering you in some way, ask a clarifying question instead of walking away from that conversation and being like, oh, this is what they meant.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, what do you mean by this? And that creates a story in your head. And then you feed that story and then you start redlining yourself.
Exactly. And then there's something about that. I do some work with Mark England at Procabulary. Are you familiar with him at all? Mm-mm. He's fantastic. So for all you guys out there that are curious, procabulary.org, but he talks about the power of language and a lot of times just clarifying what a word means. Like you said, the word compassion. Mm-hmm. Somebody said, you're not showing me compassion. If that was something that say maybe a partner said to you, it's like, well, what does compassion mean to you? Because that can mean anything. You essentially take this mouth sound and attach your meaning to it based on your experience. And that may mean something totally different. So we need to get on the same page as to what that word means. And maybe even make up our own word to display something else. But it comes down to asking really great questions. And to ask great questions, you have to be vulnerable and you have to be honest and you have to create a space for it, for your partner or for your friends or for whoever you're communicating with. It's wild. It's a funny thing. Like language is such a tricky thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's interesting. And language in English is hard enough. And then you have, some relationships that are different cultures. And how different cultures speak differently or have different ways of expressing themselves can be construed completely different from this person to that person.
Yep.
So making sure it's just clear all around and not creating those between the line stories.
But again, it all comes back to what you're talking about is tapping into yourself. Mm-hmm. And you start. I love the way that you go about this because it's really the same way that I got into any kind of mindfulness practice, or I guess it's really how this whole thing started. Was it went through my body first? Like a lot of people come from inside out, and I kind of came from outside in. It was like fitness and strength and conditioning and all of that, and then bringing more awareness around my body. Like I learned how to breathe, like to focus on breathing through competing in a fitness sport, right? To keep my heart rate down, and that I started to notice the effects of that, and then I started applying that to different parts of my life. And then when I get into ecstatic dance a little bit, that I've only done that a handful of times, but the first time, we talked about this a little bit last night, and we were kind of dancing, and it's like even just me, I'm big and kind of goofy, and it's like whatever, but I own that now. But growing up as a 6 foot tall, like seventh grader, I was like 200 pounds, and everybody else is like 8 inches shorter than you. Like sometimes all you want to do is fit in, so then you can do that. You can like move around and feel like you fit kind of in, but then you get in the place of only wanting to be small. Because let me be smaller. And I remember when we started going out dancing when I was like in my early 20s, I didn't get it. My friend was like, dude, you're big. Just be big and move around. It's going to be fine. And have a good time. That's it. So just have a good time. And it took me so long to get to the place where I could even just feel relatively comfortable, just embracing the fact that I'm a big awkward goofball and like just going about it and having a good time. But it feels so liberating to be like, oh God, I don't take this so seriously. Like life's so, what does Oscar Wilde say? It's like life's way too important to be taken seriously. Mm-hmm. And that's the same way when you start moving yourself around, and the breakthroughs I watch people have in ecstatic dance, like full on cathartic, psychedelic free emotional breakthroughs, just from getting outside of this constricted small box were so empowering to me. Just to see and experience. And I'm sure you get to see that all the time.
It's exciting. It's really exciting. And especially in class, it's amazing I had an 88-year-old woman in my class the other week. Yes. It was amazing. And she owned it, and she just moved through her body, and, she ended up being a psychologist and just incredibly amazing. But her and I got in that conversation of how we're so stagnant in our bodies and so stiff that a lot of times that's holding you and your personality back.
Yeah.
And with you, like I'm tall and lanky and like this green bean, awkwardly walking around. I hadn't grown into my body, and I'd roll my shoulders to get smaller with everybody else. But I took ballet and jazz, and so I had to be, shoulders down, upright back, and good posture. But then you go through all the phases of an adolescence and college years, and trying to be, you think that you need to be this certain way, or, when Facebook was out and all the emo pictures, and you're like, oh, I need to put an emo picture on my profile.
Did you have some emo pictures on your profile?
I tried.
Yeah, I flat ironed my hair a little bit. I was like Pete Wentz style.
You did not.
I could show you some photos. I'll put that out there on the Pleasure Monkey community. Be like, what's up, guys? Has this straight little flat iron.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was weird. It was good. It was a good time, though. I'm glad I did it. I never owned a flat iron. Actually, my mom gave me one. Anyways, go ahead.
I think I would be more impressed if you had a crimper.
I did not have a crimper. I had a perm one time, but it was kind of a joke.
You had a perm?
Yeah, it was dope. Man, the Pleasure Monkey community is going to get some funny photos.
I need to see these photos.
But it's funny, like, it's like there's these points in our lives where we're just, like, desperately trying to express ourselves in some way. It's like, okay, I'll try and do it like everybody else is doing it, but then I'm trying to just plug myself in somewhere so I can figure out who the fuck I am, because no one ever let me do it. And that's why college gets so weird sometimes. And those times when you're finally away and you're like, wait, hang on a second. So you're telling me I can be whoever I want to be? Like, that was the big, people ask me sometimes, in the nature of the beast, when you're in this like podcast world or whatever, is you were like, well, what's your biggest accomplishment? What are you most proud of in your life? I'm like, getting out of my hometown. That was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. And then, because you grow up in a little bitty small town where life is all one way, and the slight deviations from individual to individual are just not that, there's not much change there, not much variability from one person to the other. And then you get outside of that, and it took me years to kind of figure out how to live not in a small town. It just was different. It's a different thing. Like, things aren't as accessible. Like, you have to just learn. And it was almost like, wow, there's so much to the world. Because for 18 years, I was like, what? This is crazy. And even the first 2 years of college, I was really close to my hometown. And then I went to Texas State, went to my first like outdoor frat party, and was like, what in the fuck is this? And I got attention in a way I'd never gotten before, which means I got to kind of see myself through other people's eyes that didn't know who I was before that moment, which was new to me. And it was a really like drunken, transformative experience. Like, way before psychedelics entered my life, it was like Keystone Light, beer bongs.
Keystone.
Keystone Light, beer bongs, and
Natty Ice.
Slip and slides. We had a slip and slide down the hill, jumping in the river and like hanging out. And it was like, oh wow, like I feel like I can be me. I'm out there. Like I'm getting out there, getting loose, getting wild. And it was the first time that's looking back on it, that was the time when it really, things started to shift. And I'm so grateful for those times, but it took this big step of like, get the fuck out of what you're comfortable with. Like, it felt like this tether was holding me back, and I had to just let go. And I feel like that's what happens in these early 20s, even getting out of college into the real world. It's like, shit, no one really taught me who the fuck I am. Like, no one even, not that somebody can teach you who you are, but gave you the opportunity to figure it out. It's used to go from who you're supposed to be, or who everybody thinks you're supposed to be, and then you just try to fill that role. And it's something you're being told what to do until you're 18 years old. And then kind of from 18 to 22. And then you step into a cubicle and do the same shit, and then you're fucking 50. It's like, what happened? No one like snaps out of it. It's funny with this show because I have a lot of guys that come in and girls too that are in their like mid 20s, and they're in that state. That's really the audience of the show, is that people are in that state of like, wait, what the fuck am I doing? And it's so funny to interact with people like you who are out breaking the mold a little bit, breaking patterns. I think there's so much value in breaking a pattern that you see in your life and just deciding if you want it there. Take ownership of your life by understanding your patterning that experience has given you, and then fucking break it and see if you want it back, you know?
I think it's really powerful, and it took a while to get there too. I was early in high school, I was a dancer, but I kind of hung out with this crew, and I never really felt like I fit in. They were amazing people and super, super nice, but I just didn't feel like I fit in. I was kind of on the outside. And then in college, I was trying to, you're coming in like trying to say, is this my personality? Is this my personality? This is what the cool kids are doing. Masks. Yeah, different masks, and not realizing that I'm just a big nerd. And then going into the, mid 20s and then late 20s, it's just all these different shifts and all these different experiences that you're having, and you get little glimpses, or I personally got little glimpses of who I am and how people would be connecting with me or how I'd connect with other people. And then, in my 20s and into the 30s is like, oh, this is kind of who I am. And I kind of like this person, and I could be super, super dorky and nerdy and talk about science with some people and talk about silly things with other people and trip over myself, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have to be this like, oh, I'm just so perfect in every way. And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's boring. I don't want to be like that anyway. Why was I trying to be like that when I was younger? And just realizing your imperfections are so, and this is kind of a cliche thing to say, but like your imperfections make you unique. But it really is your everything.
Yeah.
Is all those quirks and weird things you do and funny things you say, or I'll mix my words up all the time. I'm dyslexic, and so they'll just go backwards, and I don't even know what that is. And people who know me really well, they're like, I got it. Like, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's those little things that it's just, that's Kirsten, or that's what she does. This is what you do. Da, 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 da. And just like really owning that up and saying like, this is an imperfection to everybody else, and I fucking love it about myself, and I'm going to own it and totally rock it out. And that's generally why people enjoy being with you, is because that's when you're really who you are. You're quote unquote authentic self.
Yeah.
You're not trying to put on this persona or that mask of this is what people want to see. This is what the movie stars look like, or this is what the influencers or models look like, or this person who everybody loves in town. I need to be like them.
Yeah.
If you just kind of like, this is who I am, I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah.
And then
it's unapologetic about it.
Yeah. And people will see that, and that's that's endearing.
It is endearing, and I think people crave authenticity, and people crave connection, and you have to be authentic to connect. I think in my mind, in my experience, like the more of yourself you can bring forward, the easier it is for people to connect with you, because you're not going to connect over like how you're, I don't know, like how you're the mundane. You're not going to connect over mundane shit. I mean, yes, you can, but it's like you're going to connect over like the quirky. Like I was telling you last night, like we were having a good time, and I was like, "You're such a dork."
You did.
and I was like, "You're such a dork," and it makes me so happy. So I was like, "Yeah, she's like a big lanky dork too."
We'll be lanky dorks together.
You know what I'm saying? It was like, yeah, cool, that's awesome. And you still, but it wasn't that you were, and you were like, oh, I don't know, I don't want people to know that I'm a dork. It's like, no, you just fucking are, and it was awesome, and you're like fully owning it. And I'm like, that helped me feel more comfortable in my skin just being around you. And that's one thing that I think is really important is to realize. And the way I say this, and I don't know where I picked this up at, is like your body lives inside your soul. And your soul is influenced by your body. So it's like the way people are around you and the way they act around you is really, really telling of what you're bringing to the world. But if you don't have that connection with yourself, or at least the intention to develop the connection, because that's really all it takes. Once you have that intention, you start like push the snowball down the hill. You can't unsee and unfeel it, right? It's like, oh no, never mind. I'm going to like become less aware of this now. Like that doesn't really happen. And it's fun to see that in people. And it's so fun to engage with people like that. And I actually created this thing called the Intention Journal, which is made just for that. It's like a 10-day little journal challenge on our website.
Oh, cool.
And the first thing is, like you were saying, like it's just get the shit out of your head. Like the first question is like, what's on your mind? Like just a page or just like whatever the fuck's like morning pages kind of. Doesn't matter. You can start it with like, you know, my coffee was good today, or I'm really pissed off. And you end up, it's funny, you can start with like the most ridiculous, like boring statement, like the sun is shining, and you'll end up like crying.
The sun is shining. I'm so happy.
I love my mom so much, or something. I need to call her. and then the next question is, and it's a lot shorter section, is like, how are you being seen in the world? Like take a step outside yourself, and if I were Kirsten and I had your life experience based upon what I know about you, how would you be seeing me? And get that clear. And then, okay, well, what are 4 words that embody what you want to bring to the world, or how you want to show up for your life, is what it says. So that way you have these 4 words, like, okay, what is that? What is that for you? And then you have intention around how you bring yourself to the world, which is really fun, because with new intentions, you discover more parts of yourself. And with more discovery, you have more context. And then it's a lot easier with context on who you are to bring that version of yourself to the world. It's fun. It's a fun game to play. Like, this life is a fun fucking game.
It that's really cool that you do that, by the way.
What?
I like that, all those questions.
Yeah, it was weird.
That's cool.
These are funny because they like come up to me. Like, I love doing that kind of stuff. Like so these are my journals right here. They're just laying out casually so I can look super woke. But I love the journaling piece is fun because it slows you down enough, and it's like I love asking questions like that, like to yourself, not necessarily asking other people that, but it's like, oh, because I do morning pages, right? So about 2 pages a day in like a small, like middle-sized journal. And I realized how powerful it is just to ask myself questions like we were talking about earlier. I'm like, okay, that's something I did, but I'm assuming that most people didn't think to like, you could write down questions and ask yourself and have all the answers you need. So I'll just do it for them and get the ball rolling, and then they can do it for themselves.
Yeah, it's that practice that you start that you don't exactly know, or you're kind of going into a new subject or a new field.
Yeah.
Of course, you're not going to know everything, but when you start rolling that snowball, then you just push it down the hill, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, now you have a huge pool to pull from.
Yeah.
You know, when you go through those experiences, or if somebody else is going through those experiences, or something really shitty happens and you're like, fuck, I don't even know how to deal with this. And you can step back into the journals, say, okay, how did I deal with that? Or what is something that I can pull from this pool of knowledge and help this situation in the best way possible, and not get stuck in that hamster wheel of your mind.
Hamster wheel of
going
bullshit.
And going. Yeah, hamster wheel of bullshit. I like that.
That's a thing. That's a pleasure monkey term. You basically just summed it up. You're totally on brand right now.
Nailed it. That was planted.
It was planted. I manifested that through our connection.
Yeah, we're telepathic.
No big
deal. Unicorn horns.
So we had a really fun conversation on the beach today, on our long beach walk today.
Yes.
About the power of looking at situations like you just spoke about from different angles, and how much that's brought to both of our lives. But I'd love you to share, like, how do you take a step back from maybe an emotionally charged situation or communication gap, and try and look at it from different angles and try to gain a little bit of objectivity around the circumstance?
It's a lot of so women in general. I'm not a man, so I don't really know.
Let's put all women in one category.
Okay.
They love it when you do that.
Yeah. So I'm talking about every single woman out there.
All of them.
Because they all feel exactly how I do. Just kidding. I know we're all different. But one thing that I had to do, because I was a person who created a lot of story because I didn't ask questions. I felt stupid asking questions. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't get it the first time, or if it wasn't clear, then it was something that was wrong with me. And eventually, through my own work that I've been doing the last couple of years of really diving into who I am, what I really feel, what my values are, what I stand for, my outlook on life, it became very clear that sometimes you'll have conversations or discussions or debates with people that can escalate into a fight, or they can just be a plain conversation. Mm-hmm. And instead of seeing yourself as right because that's your emotion, and the other person is seeing themselves right because that's their emotion that they're feeling, right? Mm-hmm. You get so into trying to prove why they should believe that you're right, and stepping back outside of that and saying, okay, maybe I feel that I'm right, but they don't feel that I'm right in this situation. So how can I see it from their perspective and get that explanation from them, with whatever they're discussing, whether it's a relationship or a business relationship or a loving relationship, whatever it is, and seeing it from a different perspective and understanding what that other person is coming from. Because it might be something that they grew up with, is that's why they have that way of thinking. And maybe you didn't even think about it that way. Or it could be like a political discussion, even, or like in a community, instead of coming to the conversation with your own agenda, it's coming to it and saying, okay, this is what you think. Why is it like that? And kind of talking yourself into, not talking yourself into, but being open to somebody else's perspective and understanding where they're coming from, I think is really important.
Yeah. Like stepping outside yourself. Mm-hmm. We get so caught up in that too. Like it's generally so limiting to be like only living within the confines of your own life, because your imagination can give you access to all kinds of other shit. And this is funny that you were talking about this earlier, like reading between the lines. I think about this all the time. Lately, I'm like, okay, so I guess I just like been around some kids or like some kids TV shows, and I've been babysitting my friends' kids a little bit. So it's funny because I'm like, these little kids, these little like monsters have the most incredible imaginations. I'm like, where does that go? Like, it's not like that just goes away. It's not like you Peter Pan and like then you become a grown up and then you lose all the mystical magical shit. So I was like, well, how does the imagination manifest in adult life? Because you kind of put it away. You kind of put it in this box and like, okay, it's not a thing anymore. And I'm like, oh, that's like making stories. Like you make stories. Like if you and I were 8 years old and we're hanging out, well, you'd be 9 because you're a year older than me.
I'm a woman.
We would probably like be playing. We would make some stuff up. We would make up a story where we were like sword fighting or damsel in distress or cowboys and Indians, whatever it is, right? Before we knew what cultural appropriation was. So
way to pop that in there.
We would not do that now. Actually, I'm like half Native American, so I can do things like that.
Oh, damn.
Yes.
I'm just European.
You're just white.
I'm just white.
You're just basic.
That's pretty much me. I'm a marshmallow.
So we would make stories. We make stories when we're kids with our imagination, and then we kind of we get funneled into like doing all the things and being who we're supposed to be and what we should be and whatever, right? And then our imagination gets pissed at us. This is the way I think about this. And then it just starts making stories up about things in our lives to like be recognized. So your imagination wants to be recognized. So you're going to read between the lines, and then because you didn't call me back, that means that you don't like me or that you're whatever, right? And then you end up in this like storyland that doesn't exist, but it's not fun. It's not cool. It's like the shitty stories. It's like your imagination's like, hey, pay attention to me because I want to be used. It's like, well, what if you just use your imagination to think about how someone else sees you in the world, or what you really want your life to be like, and what the actual steps to create that life for yourself could look like, and kind of work backwards from your ideal environment and community and financial situation. Like that's your imagination. The law of attraction is fueled by imagination.
Yeah.
And action. It's like imagination and action. It's like, well, what can my life actually be? That's fun ways to use your imagination versus like letting it take control of your personal relationships and run them into the ground.
It does. And it's what did I want to say? Creating the story. It will come to me. But I think that's great because it's that creative expression that we don't get to do very often. And, sometimes you're in the rat race. Sometimes you're in your job and you're just so focused. You're just so focused in the relationship that you're not giving yourself the space to be creative, to draw, to paint, to write, to dance, to move, to just be outside in nature and ground yourself in the grass. You're not giving yourself all this opportunity. And I think our mind, like you're saying, are just running and just want to create something in there. And instead of asking your question of, okay, cool. This, what did they mean? They didn't call me back. I can't believe they didn't call me back. What a dick.
Yeah.
And oh wait, sorry. He's working all day and he doesn't look at his phone and I'm expecting him to call, So it's like this disconnect of what's actually going on. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Of seeing something as it is rather than creating that story of, exactly what we were just talking about. You didn't call and now I'm creating a story that you don't like me. And in reality, you're just at work or you're with somebody else or you're being present and you're not checking your phone, So I was in a workshop with this, it was a group workshop, and one of the women got up and started talking about this guy who wasn't texting her back. and she was just getting very frustrated about it and reading between the lines and trying to figure out why he's not interested in her or why he's not texting her back. And it's like, well, one, have you asked if he's busy? Two, it's asking those uncomfortable questions like, hey, are you interested? If not, totally cool. And just tell me so I don't have to wait on this end of the unknowing, and the mystery. Because it's like, we don't sometimes like to be in the unknowing. We want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And we want to be really comfortable with somebody else wanting us or desiring us. We want to know that they want that or they want who we are. And it's just, sometimes it doesn't happen that way, but just being very straightforward with somebody. I remember I was just kind of dating somebody and they were kind of distant, and I called him up and I was like, hey, totally cool. If you don't want to do this, just let me know. Yeah. And we could still be friends or not be friends, but just, I would like to know. Should I keep calling you? Should I keep texting you? I'm not really getting a response. And, it ended up being really cool where he's like, no, I just have a lot going on right now. And like, let's continue to talk. It just can't be as frequent, or, we'll just like take a break and come back if it's meant to be. And I'm a big meant to be type person.
Are you? You're one of those.
Oh, I am. Yeah. Ask little Liz up there. But it's having those conversations that are a little bit difficult, and you get a lot of clarity by asking those difficult questions. And it goes back to clarifying and not creating those stories, and also being comfortable enough with yourself to say, this is what I need, and not holding it as an expectation or attachment to the answer or the outcome, but saying, this is what I need. I need somebody who is willing to converse with me a couple times a day, and telling that to whoever you're with. Let's say it's a relationship, and saying like, I love getting morning texts in the morning and like a good night text. You can not text me throughout the day, but because I get you're busy, but like these 2 texts are amazing and they just make me happy. Everything else is a bonus, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, this is like small stuff. But now that person knows that makes you extremely happy, and it's going to make them happy to give you that happiness. And so now it's creating this vortex and this circle going back and forth of, now he's doing something for the woman that makes her happy. She's lighting up. She's sending that happiness back to him, and it's just gets bigger and bigger from that. But you have to be very clear of what you want.
It's the opposite of the hamster wheel of bullshit.
Mm-hmm. It's like
it's the hamster wheel of awesome.
Awesome. Wait, could it really be a hamster?
I don't know.
I think it's like the gopher.
It's a gopher.
It's a gopher of awesomeness.
Gopher of awesomeness. Someone out there make a meme of the gopher of awesomeness, please. No, but you're right, and that's the thing. I think something I want to bring back up is that the power of having difficult conversations. And you're getting on this project of what it means to be a human being, or what it means to be human. Is that what's it called?
How to human.
How to human, right? And that's one thing that's funny is we end up avoiding things, and this is natural. Like, okay, embrace your humanness. As the last 10,000 years have been very different for our species, and we're a little bit confused still. It's okay. We're kind of figuring this shit out. Like, things are moving real fast, and we're like, well, I don't know. I didn't expect. Like, as a species, we're like, fuck this thing. Like, has all this information, and it's all really distracting. And then my dopamine's like really kicking off, but it's maybe not good for me. But I don't know. Like, all this shit is like, we're moving fast, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a part of our existence not long ago when the best thing you could do was avoid things that hurt you, and do things that felt good. Like eat food and have sex because we need to have more of that because we need to survive
and procreate.
Yeah, and like don't fall in the fire because that would hurt. It's like, so these are where we're at now. But now our emotional capacity has changed a lot, and how we engage with each other has changed tremendously. And we have this, our mouths make these sounds that can hurt feelings and make people think certain things, and can be very clumsy. So having painful conversations isn't something that you're necessarily going to be drawn to doing. But it's really important to figure out why they're painful and explore that within yourself. And sometimes the best way to do that is having someone on the other end of that you trust share their view of themselves and of you with you. Mm-hmm. And with that, it's incredibly empowering. But it's just like going to the gym or doing yoga or anything else. It's like it just takes a little bit of suck to get there, And that's one thing we talk about with a little bit of kind of embracing your humanness in an openish relationship. And that's one thing I talk about in this show a lot. I was like, it's not really about the open relationship to me. It's about the ability to have difficult conversations about being a human being. So if that conversation's like an 8 on the difficulty level, then when I'm having like conversations that are at a 6, that's just like fucking a cakewalk. You know, if I've squatted 500 pounds, when I go squat 300 pounds, it's no big deal. If I've never squatted in my life and I go put 300 pounds on my back, I'm gonna get crushed like an ant, right? So it's the same mentality towards creating resilience and compassion at the same time within conversation and communication with someone else. It's so empowering.
I think it's a lot of times we focus on the physicality of bettering ourselves, and we'll read books to gain more knowledge. However, in the conversation and the back and forth between humans, we don't practice that very often. We'll have the conversations of, hey, this is cool, or that's cool, and this is what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. But having those conversations where it's a little bit awkward and it's hard to get out, or it's hard to say, okay, this is actually my feeling, and say it in a very direct way rather than beating around the bush.
Yeah.
It's hard, but it's like practicing. It's, you're going to the gym, you're practicing, you're going to class, you're practicing, you're going to meditation, or you're meditating, yoga, dance, whatever, you're practicing. And we focus so much on the physical and bettering that than bettering like our communication skills and our mental skills and how we process information. And it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, I just had a difficult conversation a couple nights ago where it was really hard for me to be vulnerable and say, this is my feeling and I feel so lame bringing it up, but it's kind of something we need to talk about. And it turned out amazing.
Yeah.
It turned out really, really beautiful and awesome that now we have like 100 times more clarity.
Yeah. Versus being like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah. Versus like either that or just being like, I'm just going to sit with this feeling and try to get over it myself. Now I understand, like they understand where I was coming from, and now I understand where they were coming from. So it's that practice.
Yeah.
But we tend to shy away from a lot of that communication. And I think it comes down to communication, compassion, understanding, and perspective.
Say that again.
Communication, compassion, understanding, and perspective.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Thank you. A lot of like, look at the conversations, look at things that's happening. Look at, in like, not to bring it back to politics, but going in from one group to the next, where you come to a meeting with a certain agenda for your specific gain, right? People, yeah. I mean, whether it's politics or not, it could be a business conversation or even a relationship conversation, or even in a family, like, this is going to be great for me because X, Y, Z, or this is going to be great for my community or my state or my people. And you're not really taking into account of the other person and what it means for that other person. So why not just put the agendas aside?
Yeah.
And communicate and have this collaborative conversation. That's what How to Human is like having a collaborative conversation of what it means to create a solution for the betterment of humanity rather than your own personal agenda and what you're doing. Because that's one sector of people.
Okay.
But if we're having this conversation about everybody, think of how powerful that can be. Like now you have all these people having conversations of bettering humanity as a collective. And it just starts building and building and building and building and building instead of just like shutting people off and being like, no, I get the castle now.
That's the thing. It's like we don't have that conversation. It's like, what's better for everybody, really? Even if it's not the best thing for me right now.
Yeah.
That's what's weird too. It's like it's not the best for you right now, but it's probably better for everybody and you in the long run and those people that you care about. So what's your approach to that? Like, what are the steps? Like, what do you're starting jumping into the podcast world.
Yes.
Like, and it's going to change over time, as they all do. No one knew what the fuck this thing was when I started it. Now it's like this pretty cool little thing.
It is pretty cool. I'm having fun.
Yeah, it's a good time. It doesn't suck, that's for sure. And if you do think it sucks, please don't leave a review. But if you think it's awesome, 5 stars would be fantastic.
Boom.
And some kind words. Shameless plug. No, so when you want to bring that, like, we talk about the intention journal, and you seem to like that idea. Like, what do you want to bring to the world? Like, what do you want to bring to the world with your expression?
Community.
Okay.
Starting off with community and clear communication in what it can actually mean to do things for other people. and really feel like, okay, this is something I can do through philanthropy, or this is something that I can do for volunteering, or this is something that I can do for the community in a general sense.
Yeah.
And actually have those conversations with people. And and when you have that disagreement with somebody, of clarifying actually what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, and where they're coming from and how they're feeling and whatnot. And I think in a lot of it is just going back to the basics.
Yeah.
And remember, you know, we get so charged on what's the new hack or what's the new thing and this and that and the new way of thinking. But sometimes we just need to go back to basics of saying, oh, okay, we can actually talk to people face to face or pick up the phone and call them and not text. Because how many things are lost in text and email?
Oh, someone's mad at me right now via text message.
Oh,
well. I was like, hey, can you do me a favor? And then this is the start of this podcast. And they're like, hey, hello. I'm
hello.
like, sorry. I was going to make a joke. And now I'm like, shit. A lot of things are, and that's a perfect example. I was like, oh no.
See? That's a perfect example.
Yeah, it's a perfect example. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. And I think the community piece is the beginning focus is super important because it's like, okay, well, there's a community of people that's usually like attracts like people that you can see, they can really see and acknowledge you. Okay, well now there's going to be inherent difficulties that come up in that. How can we create a powerful dialogue around that with the intention being creating a better environment for all of us, which is inherently kind of selfish because we want the best lives for ourselves as we can. But in a way, it's like, it's globally beneficial selfishness versus like arrogant selfish. Like, yeah, I want the world to be awesome because I have to live in it.
Yeah. I mean, I like that. Globally, what did you say?
Globally beneficial selfishness. I just made it up. You can have
I think
it,
it's great. Thank you. Thank you. I think that's amazing. I will have that. I'll order up too. I think it's community is huge. And also it's, you have people who are trying to do good in the world. And then you have the extreme side of that, which creates difficulty for everybody else. Sometimes like you look at, I hope I don't get any flack for this, but like feminists, like super, super far side feminists are so, what they're doing is for the good of women.
Yeah.
However, it's creating a lot of negativity, and there's this stream of negativity in hating men, or men are terrible, and I'm like, okay.
The patriarchy.
Yeah, the patriarchy. And why not bring in the balance of women, you know, the masculine and feminine in this leadership role, and, you know, have a balance and a harmony between the two, and seeing, oh, we need men.
Yeah.
Like, I love men. Men are amazing. We need them.
That's so funny. That's a funny example because I'm like, I feel like women really run the show. Like a lot of the things we do are just because that's what you guys want us to do. It's like women like powerful men. So men are like, I'm going to be powerful now.
Yeah.
Or to have resources or to have whatever. It's like, or to have a man bun if you're in my case.
Well, you know, looks good on you.
No, it's funny. I think there's super, and that's the thing is like, it's not us versus them. It's like, well, it's empower yourselves.
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah.
It's empower everybody.
Yeah.
Instead of saying this is the group and this is who we support, and you know, activists, that name gets such a bad name or a bad thing around it. Stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's they're only this one-sided. However, if you look at it in a full circle of what everybody is bringing to the table and what everybody needs, and if everybody is bringing something positive and saying, okay, this is my talent, or this is my way of thinking, and you have another person saying, oh, okay, cool, this is my way of thinking, I didn't think about it your way, and actually let's take like that little nugget right there and this little nugget from mine, and now we're creating a fucking badass solution, instead of, no, you have to think our way, or we're getting stuck down, or we're getting pushed away, and blah, blah, blah. It's everybody. It's not one-sided, one group of people who are going to make a huge change. One group of people can make a big change, but to make a full fucking global change, everybody needs to say, all right, cool. Let's work together. You have the man rights people, you have the feminists saying, let's come together and like, let's hug it out, have this conversation of man versus woman, and have it a collaborative of like man and woman standing side to side, shoulder to shoulder, saying, all right, cool, I'll support you, you support me. And it's going to be this beautiful ladder of like helping people up, you know, and the support. And that's where the community comes in too. Of like, you know, I'll have the FEMethod pods and that community and tribe where it's building it up from city to city and national and global, and bringing women together and having that support community, which is extremely important because a lot of us just have one or two couple friends who we go to. We don't have this like community of support, which luckily this past year and a half since I've been down here, I've been able to grow with. You met
by down
everybody.
Here, she means in San Diego / Encinitas.
Yeah. I've been able to, all the women that we hang out. See, that's what happens. Dyslexicness.
That was yeah, all the girls we hung out with this weekend. It was just me and a bunch of girls in the Babe Dome.
Babe Dome.
You guys missed the cuddle puddle last night. It was
amazing.
It was okay. Didn't hate it.
Oh, God.
But the community piece is huge in that, especially when it comes to empowering women.
Yeah, and you have that. And I think more people are desiring that and they need that. And that can expand outside of just for women. It can go into this global part where if it's truly unifying humanity of us all creating that support community and understanding people's goals and initiatives and supporting that and saying, okay, cool, you need this. I actually have this talent, or I know this person, let me connect you to.
Yeah.
Or this is an idea, let's come together and create something amazing out of it. But a lot of times I think ego gets involved, where it's, I can't help this person because they're going to take my job, or I can't help this person because they're going to get da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I kind of went off on a tangent.
No, that was a great tangent. And I want to add something to that. It was like where it's funny because you look at this and the women's rights stuff has been, I think there's been some toxic expression with it. That's the minority. It gets the most attention, which I think is kind of fucked. It's not really fair. But at the same time, it's like the empowerment of women for the sake of connection on a global level is really, really important. And this is where I kind of sit with this, is women aren't the same as men, generally speaking. And the feminine, and then not even to say that, like the feminine isn't the same as the masculine. It just isn't. That's why there's two different fucking words. Like, if they were the same, we would just call them the same thing.
Duh.
And this is not about, what you got going on downstairs. This is about what you bring to the world. And generally speaking, the feminine essence and the feminine expression is more empathetic, and the females tend to embody that more. And empathy and connection really tie together. So when you think about connecting communities, connecting individuals, and understanding and having compassion, like women have a way stronger propensity to be able to do that. Guys can do it too. It just takes a little bit more work. Like that's why you see these guys in like compassion and empathy workshops, and women are like school teachers and nurses, generally speaking, because you can empathize with a child. That's really challenging to do for a man a lot of times, because evolutionarily it just wasn't something we had to do that often. So it's really fun to like see people, okay, let's embody what the feminine is and bring that to the world, because the world's just fucking thirsty for it. And that's great. And it's not at the cost of anything. It only benefits everything. And then letting masculine expression be less fucking toxic and power driven would also be great. We would all like that. The Me Too movement's crazy. It's in a good way. It's like this fucking, we're like, what the hell? This all happened? And it's like, it's a slippery fucking slope to see these things. And it's like, man, we need to empower each other to be true, real, authentic, and we can connect and express ourselves fully and authentically. This would it still happen? Absolutely. Would fucked up things still happen? Yes. But it would be much easier for it not to. There's a path of genuine expression and ownership of oneself that is liberating, and you don't feel like these toxic needs for expression. I feel like that's what this is. We definitely went on a tangent there, but I like that.
No, I like that tangent too.
Cool. Well, this has been fun as shit.
Tangent.
I'm stoked on this. I'm stoked on this podcast. This has been awesome. Where can all the homies out there find you?
You can find me.
And besides in Encinitas with a bunch of babes.
Babe Dome.
The Babe Dome.
There is Instagram is probably the easiest. Is Kirsten Asher now is the FEMethod one, which is Feminine Embodiment Method, and then Unify Humanity is How to Human.
All right.
That will be able to direct you to the websites and
all the fun stuff.
All the fun stuff.
And what's the website?
FEMethod.com.
Okay.
And with one M.
Ooh.
And unifyhumanity.co.
Unifyhumanity.co. And that's where the new podcast will be housed.
Yep. The podcast and the YouTube channel.
Hell yeah. I'm stoked.
It's gonna be fun. I'm so excited.
Well, when your podcast gets rolling, I'm going to invite myself onto it.
You are invited. If you didn't come on, I would be so bummed. It's
been really awesome getting to know you, and I'm glad we still, after talking all day, still found things to talk about.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Thank you. I had fun.
Thanks, love. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
And that is our episode for this week. I hope that you enjoyed hanging out with Kirsten. She's an awesome person. Check out her website, FEMethod.com. That's FEMethod with one M. And go find her on Instagram. She's doing some really great things in the world. We actually have some plans to do some projects together. And this podcast is really a great representation of our friendship now. We've gotten to know each other more since the show. And we really just brought her on because she was an awesome person to spend time with. And she had really amazing thoughts and ways of articulating them that got me excited. And that's one of my favorite things about this show. It's been something that's very humbling to me, and I'm very grateful to do. And I'm grateful for all of you hanging out, listening. And if you feel called to make some changes in your life based upon the philosophy and the things that we talk about and explore on this show, head over to livethefuckoutoflife.com and click on the lifestyle design tab, fill out a short little questionnaire, and we'll set up a 30-minute lifestyle design call to see if there's some things we can do to take your life to the next level, really open yourself up and look at yourself objectively, create an environment where you can look at yourself objectively and make some shifts. I've really been loving the work. The people that have come out of that have just been really, really inspiring to me. It's incredible. I can't really verbalize the gratitude that I feel for all the things that I get to do with this. So again, I appreciate all of you. If you love the show, give it a review on iTunes. We always appreciate those. And go check out all of Kirsten's work if you want to get your body moving and get your heart open. We'll see y'all next time. Much love. Peace.